What if the only thing standing between you and your biggest breakthrough isn't a lack of talent, resources, or opportunity, but a quiet, persistent voice that says, you can't? It's subtle, almost reasonable. It sounds like you, thinks like you, and pretends to protect you from failure, but in reality, it's been chaining you to the same habits, the same fears, and the same unfulfilled potential for years. Self-doubt isn't loud. It's silent sabotage. It creeps in before a decision, after a rejection, or right when you're about to try something bold. It tells you to shrink, to delay, to play it safe. And the worst part, you believe it. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar. Everyone feels it at some point. The fear of not being enough, of not having what it takes, of being exposed as an imposter in a world full of confident people. But the truth is that fear is a lie. It's a mental script that's been playing on repeat for so long that you stopped questioning it. You've been negotiating with self-doubt when you should have been confronting it. That ends now. The life you want. The impact, the freedom, the fulfillment. It's waiting on the other side of the internal battle you've been avoiding. You're not lacking clarity or ability. You're lacking conviction. And conviction isn't given, it's earned. By showing up, pushing forward, and doing what self-doubt says you can't. This is your moment to stop entertaining the limitations of your past and start stepping into the possibilities of your future. No more waiting, no more hesitating. The war against self-doubt is the defining battle of your growth, and it begins now. Success isn't just about strategy, skills, or timing. It's about mastering the invisible forces that govern how we think, feel, and act. One of the most powerful and destructive of these forces is self-doubt. It doesn't knock loudly at the door or announce its presence with a crash. Instead, it seeps in quietly, often dressed as humility, caution, or logic. It convinces you that playing small is smart, that waiting is wise, and that staying in your comfort zone is the safest path forward. But beneath its soft voice lies a hard truth. Self-doubt steals dreams. It doesn't need to scream to be effective. It only needs to whisper at the right moment. Every person with ambition will face this inner enemy. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how many people believe in you, or how much potential you hold. If you don't win the internal battle against self-doubt, all the external tools in the world won't make a difference. It shows up just as you're about to take a leap, start something new, speak your truth, or step onto a bigger stage. It tells you you're not ready. It reminds you of every past failure. It replays old criticism like a looped recording in your mind. And slowly it convinces you that maybe you're better off settling. But there's another side to this story, because while self-doubt is powerful, it's not permanent. It thrives in silence and passivity, but weakens in the presence of awareness and action. The moment you recognize that voice and call it what it is, fear dressed in reason, you begin to take back control. You start to realize that courage isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. Growth doesn't happen in the absence of fear. It happens when you move through it. The journey to success isn't a straight line. It's filled with uncertainty, setbacks, and moments where you question everything. That's normal. What's not normal, what's dangerous, is letting self-doubt dictate your decisions. Every great achievement was once just a possibility surrounded by fear. The difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck is simple. Some people listen to self-doubt while others challenge it. This conversation isn't about avoiding fear. It's about preparing for the moment it arrives, because it will. And when it does, your response will shape everything that follows. Self-doubt is one of the most persistent and destructive forces in the human experience. It disguises itself well, often masquerading as logic, responsibility, or humility, but behind the mask, it's fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. It doesn't always scream. Most of the time it whispers. It whispers just enough to make you question yourself. It plants hesitation where there should be action, uncertainty where there should be clarity, and slowly it chips away at your confidence until the bold dreams you once held begin to seem unrealistic, even foolish. The real danger of self-doubt isn't how loud it is how subtle and convincing it can be. It tells you that now isn't the right time, that someone else is more qualified, that you should wait until you're more prepared, more polished, more perfect. So you wait, you prepare, you plan, and nothing changes. Weeks become months, months become years, and all the while the opportunities that could have changed your life quietly pass you by. What makes self-doubt so powerful is its timing. It doesn't attack when you're sitting still. It shows up when you're about to move, right before you pitch the idea, start the business, apply for the role, or have the hard conversation. That's when it tightens its grip. It's in those critical moments when boldness is required that self-doubt whispers the loudest, and too often it wins, not because you're weak or unmotivated, but because you've been conditioned to believe that doubt is a stop sign instead of a signal to dig deeper. This internal battle is not unique to one person, it's universal. Everyone at some point wrestles with the nagging belief that they're not enough. But when that belief goes unchecked, it doesn't just limit progress, it shapes identity. People stop reaching, not because they can't, but because they no longer believe they should. They start aiming lower, settling for less, and calling it realism. The challenge isn't whether you have self-doubt. Everyone does. The real challenge is how you respond to it. Do you retreat and let it rule your life, or do you stand up and question the voice that questions you? That decision is what separates growth from stagnation. And every time you choose silence over action, hesitation over courage, or comfort over challenge, self-doubt wins a little more. Understanding how self-doubt operates is the first step toward dismantling it. It's not just a feeling, it's a deeply ingrained mental habit formed over time through repeated experiences, internalized criticism, and unchallenged beliefs. Often the roots of self-doubt can be traced back to early moments, an offhand comment, a failed attempt, a comparison to someone else, that planted seeds of uncertainty. Over time, these seeds grow into a mindset that views risks as threats and mistakes as proof of inadequacy. The mind becomes a battlefield where every new opportunity is met with a barrage of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. But self-doubt doesn't thrive in truth. It thrives in assumption. It relies on you accepting untested fears as facts. One of the most effective ways to challenge it is through action. Not perfect action, not massive leaps, just movement. Small, deliberate steps forward disrupt the cycle of hesitation and build evidence against the lie self-doubt tells. Each time you follow through despite uncertainty, you teach your mind a new lesson. Fear isn't a stop sign, it's a signal for growth. Another powerful tool in overcoming self-doubt is reframing. Most people experience fear and interpret it as a reason to pull back. But what if fear was actually a sign you're on the edge of something meaningful? What if the nervousness before taking a risk was proof that you're about to break through a limit you've lived with for too long? Shifting your perspective on fear changes your relationship with it. It's no longer the enemy, it becomes a compass pointing you toward areas of growth. Also essential is the environment you surround yourself with. People often underestimate how much influence their circle has on their beliefs. Surrounding yourself with individuals who encourage risk-taking, who share openly about their own fears and failures, creates a climate where self-doubt doesn't feel like a personal defect. It becomes part of the shared human experience. In that environment, courage becomes contagious. And finally, consistency plays a critical role. You can't just confront self-doubt once and expect it to disappear. Like any habit, it takes repetition to rewire the mind. Through daily practices, whether it's affirmations, journaling, intentional risks, or reflecting on small wins, You start to build a foundation of inner certainty. The goal isn't to eliminate doubt forever. It's to become someone who hears it, recognizes it, and keeps going anyway. That's where transformation begins. There comes a moment when everything shifts, not because the doubt vanishes, but because you finally refuse to listen to it. It's not loud or dramatic. It doesn't come with fanfare. Often it happens in a quiet instant. A single choice that marks the beginning of everything different. Maybe it's the moment you raise your hand in the meeting, hit publish on the post you've rewritten a dozen times, or walk into the room you always felt unqualified to enter. In that second, fear is still there, but you choose not to obey it. That's the key moment, not when fear disappears, but when you stop waiting for it to. This turning point doesn't happen because you feel ready. In fact, most breakthroughs happen in the middle of discomfort. You're still unsure, still afraid, but something inside you decides that the cost of staying stuck is greater than the risk of moving forward. And that internal shift, the decision to act in spite of the fear, starts a ripple effect. You speak up and your voice doesn't shake as much as you thought it would. You take this step and the ground doesn't collapse beneath you. You survive the thing you were sure would break you. And then something incredible happens. You begin to collect evidence that you're stronger than you believed, that the stories of inadequacy and failure weren't the truth. They were just old narratives replaying in your mind. Each action, no matter how small, becomes a brick in the foundation of a new identity. You're no longer the person who waits to feel confident. You're the one who acts anyway. You're no longer chained to the opinions of others. You've proven to yourself that your own voice is powerful enough. That one decision to act in the face of doubt becomes the moment everything begins to change, not because the world suddenly rearranges itself, but because you do. You walk taller, you speak with more clarity, you start seeing possibilities instead of limitations. That's the real victory. It's not about eliminating fear or silencing every critical thought. It's about refusing to be controlled by them. When you reach that moment, the world doesn't give you permission, you give it to yourself. And that internal permission, that quiet but powerful yes, is what ignites lasting change. Self-doubt is a universal experience, but it doesn't have to be a permanent one. It shows up in different forms for different people: hesitation, overthinking, perfectionism, or fear of rejection. Yet at its core, it's always the same. A barrier between where you are and where you know you could be. What matters most isn't whether you feel doubt, it's how you choose to respond to it. Those who succeed are not immune to fear or insecurity. They've simply learned to move forward regardless. When you look back at the moments that shaped your life, chances are they didn't come from playing it safe. They came from taking risks, pushing through fear, and daring to believe in something greater than your current circumstance. That's the irony of self-doubt. It tells you that staying small is safe, but in reality, it's the most dangerous choice of all, because staying small doesn't just limit your potential, it diminishes your spirit. Transformation isn't built on avoiding discomfort, it's built on walking through it. Every time you choose to act in spite of doubt, you reclaim a piece of your power. You begin to rewrite the story you've been living in, not as someone who waits for permission, but as someone who creates it. Confidence grows not from external validation, but from internal evidence. And you build that evidence by doing the very things your fear tells you not to do. This journey is ongoing. Doubt will resurface. Challenges will test you. But once you've tasted what it feels like to push beyond hesitation and step into your potential, it becomes harder to settle for anything less. You realize that courage isn't a one-time event. It's a way of life. It's found in the daily decisions to rise, to show up, and to keep going even when the voice of fear tries to hold you back. You have everything within you to face the resistance that self-doubt creates. The ability to choose differently, to act boldly, and to live fully is already inside you. The only thing left is to decide. You don't have to be fearless to be free. You just have to be willing to challenge the voice that says you can't, willing to trust in your own growth, willing to step forward even when the path isn't clear. That willingness is where true change begins. Now's the time to stop letting self-doubt call the shots in your life. You've spent enough time questioning your worth, second-guessing your choices, and holding yourself back. It's time to interrupt that cycle and take action. Real, tangible, forward-moving action. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but now. Because readiness isn't something you wait for. It's something you create through doing. Start by identifying one area of your life where self-doubt has kept you playing small. Maybe it's a goal you've delayed, a decision you've avoided, or a step you've talked yourself out of over and over again. Write it down. Then write the belief that's been holding you back. Get honest with yourself. What have you been telling yourself that isn't true? Next, choose one action, just one, that contradicts that limiting belief. If your doubt says you're not good enough, then do something that proves otherwise. Apply for that opportunity, record the video, start the conversation, launch the project, or simply speak your truth. Action is the most effective antidote to doubt. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Make a commitment to act consistently. Set a daily or weekly goal that challenges your comfort zone. Celebrate every small win, because every time you act despite fear, you weaken the grip of self-doubt and reinforce your belief in your own capability. Keep a journal of your progress. Track how you feel after you follow through. You'll begin to see patterns, moments when doubt was loud, but you acted anyway. That's growth in real time. Finally, surround yourself with people and content that encourage bold action. Choose voices that remind you of your potential, not your limitations. Feed your mind with empowering messages and limit the influence of anything that fuels insecurity or fear. You don't need permission to believe in yourself. You don't need perfection before you begin. You just need the courage to take the next step, no matter how small. So take it, act now. The future you want is waiting on the other side of the decision you're about to make.